Hey kids, what time is it?
Time for Gezintahait Street.
It is time for Gezintahait Street, and the story tonight is a contemporary miracle. This is a story. Usually when I tell stories, it's a story that the Rebbe is saying in the name of a different Rebbe. But this time, it's a story that the Rebbe is telling about himself. In Parshas Shemini, in the year 5729, 1969, a Rebbe related there was a recent miracle that occurred, and the Rebbe said it was through the previous Rebbe. A Rebbe said, even though I was involved, I'm not embarrassed to relate the miracle that happened. In that year, very, very unusual, the Rebbe talks about politics. He said both the Republicans and the Democrats in New York City agreed to legislation placing Crown Heights into a much larger voting district. They gerrymandered the district. As a result, the Crown Heights community would have virtually no say in how government funds would be apportioned. The consequence would be that the Jewish schools would lose their funding. This is a story that the Rebbe told. When the Rebbe learned about it, he told the Chassidus to work to nullify the legislation because it was unjust, and furthermore, the Rebbe said it was unconstitutional. The Rebbe said it's unconstitutional.
You knew that Constitution inside and out.
To that end, the Rebbe helped gather funds to fight the legislation. The Rebbe is told that once both parties had agreed to this type of legislation, there was no chance of nullifying it. The Rebbe said, yes, you're right. Nevertheless, it's something that should be attempted. We'll proceed. In a way of Kabbalah soul, accepting the yoke of the service of God out of determination and duty. Without what our intellect tells us is impossible. Rather acknowledge that according to reason, there was no chance of success. On the day of the decision, the person who was chosen to appeal to the city council on behalf of Crown Heights was late. And the Rebbe says as an aside, as is usual with Jewish people, the Rebbe says. He was not allowed to make his case, but there was a miracle. Another group had the same complaint from another neighborhood, and they brought their appeal against it. In any case, the motion was defeated by council. When the legislation was reviewed sometime later, the same representative of the Rebbe was tasked to bring the case for appeal. And again, he was late. He came late again. This time, the door to the courtroom was locked. Astoundingly, another miracle occurred. The door was open for someone else, and the Rebbe's man was able to enter. Nevertheless, the effort did not succeed. The political plan was not defeated. It was watered down a little bit. Afterward, the Rebbe noticed the person involved with this effort is not coming to the Rebbe. And when the Rebbe asked, why isn't he coming to me? He was told the Chassid was embarrassed because he had failed in his mission. Which had been directed by the Rebbe through the power of the Frierdiker Rebbe. Moreover, he had used up quite a lot of money in his failing effort. He was embarrassed to go and report to the Rebbe. For the next 7 or 8 months, the situation remained the same. But about a week before the Rebbe told this story in public, he received word that the Supreme Court in Washington, remember the Rebbe said it was unconstitutional? He received word the Supreme Court in Washington had nullified the owner's plan completely. This, the Rebbe said, was a revealed miracle from the previous Rebbe, through the Rebbe Shlochim. For 7 or 8 months, no one had worked to oppose the legislation. Both political parties had agreed to it. And legal efforts to repeal it had been tried and denied by the court. Even in Jewish law, once an appeal is denied, it's final. So too in this case, the legislation was a done deal. Furthermore, it was not an issue that the Supreme Court could have been expected to address. Commenting on the miraculous quality of the outcome, the Rebbe said, this is an event that happened last week, not a story from our grandfather. And the lesson is that even if according to nature, a thing is impossible to achieve, through stubbornness and determination to do the right thing, we're given success from above. Gimel Elef.
We want Mashiach now.
We want Mashiach now. You guys have a niggun for us?
Oh
Yeah,
boy, do
let's-
we have a niggun for you.
Slow or low?
So I can tell you. Ya ya yo ya 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 oh enama yladam oh yladam mamam 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 oy mamam oy ya mamam yladam mamam mamam ya 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 ay ya oh enam oh yladam ay yladam mamam oh yenayo mamam oh yenam yladam mamam
That's called the capella.
Oh, wicked.
Does that have anything to do with a cappella?
It's sort of a capella. Capella is a choir, is choral, means choir. A cappella is choral music.
Okay, so folks, tomorrow we're coming up on the anniversary of the Rebbe's passing away in Gimel Tammuz. And it's a celebration of remembrance and realization that the Rebbe is still here with us. Like the Torah says, Yaakov didn't die. He had a funeral, but he lives through us. When we do the Rebbe's work, when we learn the Rebbe's Torah, the Rebbe's alive, not just in the poetic way of life. He's really here with us and taking care of us. What's a Rebbe anyway? There are a lot of aspects of what a Rebbe is, but I'm going to focus on Rebbe as a teacher. It says Moshiach will be a rabbi, which means a teacher, and he will be a king. As a rabbi, he'll teach us. And as a king, he will show us godliness. He'll move the curtain aside and show us God. The previous Rebbe says that Chassidus is an amazing and fascinating intellectual pursuit. But finally, one realizes it's much more than that. It's no less than godly intellect. When the Rebbe Marash had two different expressions for communicating a Hasidic discourse.
Oh, I bet I know what they are.
Hit it, wait.
One is Zogan Chassidus and one is Red Chassidus.
Right.
Oh, he's good. He's good, that lady.
So his son asked him, what does he mean, the difference between the two? Because his son knew that when a Rebbe says, he's exact in what he's saying. And he was answered that Reden Chassidus means that the people listening were appropriate vessels to understand and utilize the teaching. But Zagan Chassidus is to those who are not fitting vessels to understand and utilize the teaching. But eventually, it would affect them or their children or their grandchildren. Now, this is a Rebbe saying this. This is not a joker. This is not Baba Mises. If a Rebbe says it'll affect them or his children or his grandchildren, it's a true thing. And we learn from this one, how precise is every expression of a Rebbe and everything that a Rebbe tells him.
The Rebbe don't exaggerate.
Zogen Chassidus. At the time when it's being zugged, it's not internalized by the listener. Not even externally understood by the listener. But really, it's received and internalized. And the proof is that years and even generations later, the teaching affects the person. The Rebbe's Torah is not information that goes in one ear and out the other. When the Rebbe talks, godly idea is embedded in the person. Like the prophet Jeremiah said, in the name of Hashem, my words are fire. And fire purifies. The Rebbe words purify and clarify the subject he's teaching, and also clarifies and purifies the listener. But sometimes it's not apparent until years or even generations later. Now, the last mimer, the last discourse that the Rebbe edited was Atot Tzaddik. Moshe, Hashem says to Moshe, you command the children of Israel. And it's not really understood at first glance. Moshe was the messenger. Hashem said to Moshe, tell the children of Israel. But here it's not Hashem commanded and Moshe passed it on. Here Hashem is telling Moshe to command them. Atot Tzaddik. And the answer is that the word command can be read as connect. The word in Hebrew can be translated instead of command as connect. And Hashem is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, connect the Jewish people to me. And then he said they should bring the olive oil crushed for the luminary. And the olive oil crushed, how it pertains to us, it means that when we are crushed, our essence comes out. That's what it means, crushed to the luminary. Hashem is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, connect them to me to the point where they're crushed, where their essence is revealed. And how could he connect them, the Jewish people, to Hashem? Through internalizing their faith. How? Through his teachings. Not just faith that there's a God, but internalized faith, where the person lives with the fact that God is with them.
So Mitzalel, what does that mean as opposed to just a general faith to live with Mitzvahs?
What kind of faith? There are two kinds of this faith. One, there's a revelation of godliness. When godliness is revealed, you have faith in God. And where is it revealed? It's revealed to the soul. Not revealed to the person, doesn't realize it, it's a subconscious thing. Like a person will be aroused towards godliness suddenly, without any apparent reason. Because the soul is shown or hears revelations of godliness. But the second kind of faith, there are no revelations at all, even to the soul. And that's what the Rebbe reveals and allows to be internalized in his generation. The essential faith, which is manifest without any revelations of godliness at all, even to the soul. It's called an essence faith. And that's the idea of crushed for the luminary. The essence becomes revealed through the Rebbe of the generation. Where do we see it? Like, for an example, the Baal Shem Tov made a big deal about the second day of Shavuos. The second day of Shavuos, in the afternoon, he made a special meal. They washed for bread and everyone was invited. And that special thing on the second day of Shavuos is a lesson our Rebbe says for each one of us. There are times where godliness is revealed in our lives. That will be like the first day of Shavuos when Hashem came down on the mountain. On other times, things are very dark for a person. Try as he might, success eludes him, and he is understandably downcast. We tell him that however much things changed from yesterday till today, it doesn't compare to the change between the first and second day of Shavuos. Yesterday, Hashem descended on Har Sinai. He revealed himself to us with such intensity. It was similar to what will be experienced when Mashiach comes. But today, we no longer have those great revelations. We're left to our own devices. Things are in our hands and depends on our service, not on revelation. Nevertheless, the main focus of importance, the Baal Shem Tov teaches us, is manifest on the second day of Shavuot because of the intrinsic superiority of our service in Hashem's eyes. That's similar to when we received the Torah on Mount Sinai compared to Purim. On Mount Sinai, there was a lot of revelations, and in Purim, not only there were no revelations, we were under the decree of being killed.
I remember B'Tzalel, I was there.
You were there, you know. In Mount Sinai, there was great revelation. Even before we left Egypt, when we left Egypt, there was revelations of God. And especially at the sea, when the sea was split. And how much more so when we got the Torah, when the mountain was on fire and the voice of God was heard. When we heard the sights and saw the sounds. On Purim, Haman made a decree that the Jews would surely die if they don't give up being Jews and being connected to Hashem. Nevertheless, we would not give up our connection to Hashem, even though there was no revelation of God. And how is it accomplished? Through the Rebbe of the generation. Mordechai took 20,000 Jewish people and kids, and he made rallies and Sivas Hashem rallies, and he revealed the connection of the Jews of their soul to Hashem. And we could see it also with the previous Rebbe. When things looked real bad in Russia and Stalin had his decrees, the previous Rebbe allowed us to retain the fact that we're a Yehudi, that we're connected to Hashem. So in Purim, we see there was Mesiras Nefesh in the times of the dark times of the decree. And I say to say that that was the real receiving of the Torah, was at Purim time when there was no revelation. Because we did our own service. We gave ourselves up to Hashem. Even though we knew we would be killed. And all we would have to do is say, okay, I don't want to be Jewish, and we wouldn't have been killed. And they wouldn't have touched our money.
That's especially important.
But at any rate, we would not give up our connection to Hashem.
Whatever you do, keep your hands up.
And it was revealed to us through Mordechai HaYehudi. What was revealed? The essence of the soul is one and inseparable with the essence of Hashem. And through that service, in the darkest time, we were victorious at Purim and achieved light and beauty. How do you say?
Yehudi Moisa Oira,
Aura is light,
Simcha,
and Simcha is happiness,
Sasain,
and Sason is rejoicing,
Vikar.
the Yakar and beauty.
Yeah.
Mordechai was the boss of the whole country. And the evil Haman's estate was given to Esther. The Jews were victorious, but we were still crushed. Why should we still be crushed? We were crushed because we were still in Gullus. We were still under Ahasuerus. It wasn't Mashiach yet. And even now, when we have freedom to be Jewish in the highest, most holy way, we could be real Jews, real Yehudim. We're crushed. Our essence is revealed. And what's our essence? We want Moshiach now.
Amen.
Amen. Hit it.
Here's to the L'chaim, here's to the crushing point.
The crushing point. Kosis lama'oi.
And that reminds me of an old song.
Oh,
Which one is that? Oh yeah, is that the right one? Which one is it?
First off, I don't know what's going on with this pickup. It's Tasha
Oh,
Vena.
Toshi Vanish, right. It's not actually
To the crushing point.
Yeah.
To the crushing
Oh,
point.
Tosh Adako. Oh, Nizke Venishba. Oh, Bitzalo, you hear it? Toshi Vanish Adako, Nidishba Nitke.
Let's try it again.
Okay, let's go from the top.
take it from the top, boys.
Oh yeah, oh yinadam, oh yinadam, oh yinam, oh yo yinadam, Hayto sheilene shadidako vatei mershu shuvo b'nei yodom to sheilene shadidako vatei mershu b'nei yodom oh yeah, oh hinadana,
Hot stuff. Thank you very much. Very
Bitzali, I want to make an appeal.
do your thing.
Yes, you
Go
know, my dear friends, my dear brothers and sisters, you know, it's now coming tonight is already the second day of Tammuz, and the next day, the third day of Tammuz, which is the day of Histalkus, the day that the Rebbe let the physical body to come down in a stronger way, even to affect the world to his Chassidim. And there's one thing we have to ask ourselves at this point: to be or not to be. Am I a chassid or am I not a chassid? Because a chassid, it's like in the mob. In the mob, there's associates and there's made men. An associate, I'm affiliated with Chabad. I go to Vaik, maybe I read a little Sikha. A made man means you're in deep. There's no coming out. That means your whole mitzias is you're a mobster. This is the same thing by a chassid. Are you a chassid or are we not a chassid? And if we are chassid, we have to remember what the Rebbe needs from us to bring Mashiach. It's not just to sit, we learn a little Chassidus, it's nice, meet a little Shmaltzev with that, it's even nicer. This is not what the Rebbe needs from us. The Rebbe needs from us to go and bring it to another person. This is what the Rebbe was all about, to bring it to another person, man, woman, child, Jew, not Jew, everybody has mitzvahs that they can do. There's the mitzvahs for the Jewish people, there's mitzvahs that was given to all the whole world, but for how each of us can refine the world, and the Rebbe needs every one of us. And you have to think big, but you have to also be willing to act small, meaning, if one person, if you go and one person and you help them and you convince them to do a mitzvah, you just change the whole world. Maybe your soul just came down to this whole earth just to help this one person do a mitzvah. So now it's Gimel Tammuz coming, and I have think about it, to be or not to be. Who am I? Am I a chassid of the Rebbe? If we're a chassid of the Rebbe, then this is what we need to do: is we need to spread the knowledge of Hashem, the voice of Chassidus. We need to tell people to do one mitzvah, to put on tefillin if they're Jewish. If not, there's the 7 Noahide laws. This is what we have to do. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Hey, should we have like a freilich in something before we go out?
Yeah.
Speaking of spreading out.
Oh, okay, I got you.
funny for us. I just can't move it down. I
You
can't.
did a